Hello, fellow travelers. I am Dr. Richard Hector. Welcome to episode 3 of Soucouyant, a Caribbean supernatural tale where we reimagine the Soucouyant, a character from the folklore of the Caribbean. Here, we follow her as she is depicted in Trinidad. Her depiction might be different in other places in the Caribbean. In episode 2, we learned that Flats was into selling drugs and other things. However, he crossed a line that he hadn't before. He was trying to run away from his conscience, but he could not run away from the Soucouyant. They fought, and he was soundly beaten. Yet, she began making love to him. He was caught in a whirlwind of confusion. He felt both terror and pleasure at the same time. He was terrified of death, but the pleasure was so intense that part of him wanted it, even if it cost him his life. He was almost willing to die for it. Almost. The other part was like swimming to the surface and being out of breath, looking at the sky with the air just 12 inches away. The urge to inhale is almost irresistible, but the knowledge of what a lungful of seawater could do forces you to hold on just a little bit longer. That part struggled and broke through the surface with a mighty inhale of life-affirming air. Realization exploded in clarity of thought. He wanted to live. It was as if someone fired a pistol next to his ear. He screamed and started crushing her in a bear hug. He felt his lust transformed instantly into red-hot anger at what he interpreted as betrayal. He would crush her, then have his way with her. She could not hit him while he had her locked in a bear hug. Her body was small. He could crush her quickly, he thought. He bellowed, grabbed his right wrist, and began crushing her with all his strength. She threw her head back and laughed loud in the night. She said, "A big man like you? Is that the best you can do? Let me show you how to do it." She enfolded his broad back in her slender arms and began squeezing him against her body. For a moment, they were evenly matched, but slowly her compression overtook his until his chest could not expand for him to breathe. She kept squeezing. His arms grew weak and fell limp at his sides. She kept squeezing him. His external carotid artery bulged with blood. Her small mouth clamped on his skin over the artery. He was powerless to resist. In a few moments, his field of vision narrowed. He heard himself speak as if from a distant place. His voice said, "Soucouyant. Yes, Flats is me. I am your Soucouyant tonight." She paused and said in his ear before clamping on his neck again, "Oh God, I'm dead. You're going to kill me." He managed to say weakly, "Yes, I am going to kill you. So it's a good thing you are not afraid to die." She paused from sucking his blood through his skin to look into his terrified eyes. He could not speak. Terror stole his voice. Only a whisper came from his throat that was faint. Oh God," he whimpered. "Which God, Flats? The one upstairs or the one in the bank vault?" she said into his ear. He got a whiff of delicate perfume again. She clamped her lips against his skin. He found them so soft. The sensation of her sucking on his neck aroused him again. "Oh, suck me, Soucouyant, suck me." He almost laughed as he heard himself speak the lyrics from an old calypso. He accepted his death as a fact. Acceptance that was almost casual. He sank into that underwater part of his mind and watched reality blur as he floated down. For a long time, they were intertwined in the dark. His weakened body slid down the wall to the ground. She slid down his body, unbuckled his belt, pulled down the zipper, and dragged his trousers down to his knees. His shorts appeared like a circus tent draped from the center pole. Ignoring his readiness, she began sucking on the skin over his common femoral artery. Slowly his erection drooped as he lost more blood. She stopped slaking her thirst as an idea entered her head. She moved up his body and laid on him as if they were lovers. You know, I should kill you tonight, you wretch, but I've changed my mind. Death is too good for you. You made life a living hell for many people and their families. You finally drove an innocent teen to take her own life. No, you will live. You will live and see me everywhere you look. She raised herself off him and stripped him naked. She threw everything toward the river. Some fell in the water and floated downstream. His trousers landed on the bank, partly in the water. She retrieved the dagger and threw it down the river. It sailed through the air and landed in tall reeds growing in the middle of the river. She stood up and laughed. Her voice rang off the stones under the bridge. She walked over and knelt next to him, putting her palm on his bare chest. Open your eyes, she commanded. Without any action on his part, his eyelids fluttered open. Look at my face. His eyes focused on her face, but he could not see her features in the shadows. Then, small tongues of flame instead of hair framed her face. He saw her features in a soft light, like that of candles. She was beautiful. Her beauty was not a demonic, startling beauty. Hers was the everyday beauty that he had encountered in Chaguanas or St. James. She was indeed Indian. She had slightly oval features with high cheekbones, almond-shaped eyes. She had a small, straight nose that pointed at full lips and a dimpled chin. She had the face of an Indian deity that they draw on calendars and murtis. Mother Lakshmi, save me, he prayed. She laughed and said, Oh, now you know how to call on all the gods, Flats. Then she lay on his chest again. The light on her face dimmed, but he could still see her clearly. She continued, Gods are not for you any longer, Flats. You rejected them all a long time ago. They don't hear you now. It's just you and me in this dance. She pushed herself up from his chest and stood up. She was again a silhouette in the frame of the bridge. She laughed and said, You will be seeing me, Flats. Then she mouthed an incantation. His eyes clouded over, then cleared. His eyelids drooped and closed as he fell into unconsciousness. She turned and dissolved into a glowing ball that could have been mistaken for swamp gas or a ball of flame. Had the onlooker studied it, a clear trajectory would be noticeable. She drifted over the river and out from under the bridge. The ball of flame flowed to a nearby mango tree and drifted to the ground. A mound of what appeared to be clothes lay on the ground. The flame settled on the mound and extinguished as it did so. A young woman stood up from a stooping position where the mound was. She was naked. She picked up a bag that lay on the ground on the other side of the mango tree. She took out clothes and dressed unhurriedly. Then she walked through the bushes away from the culvert. She reached the track and followed it to the paved road. When she reached the road about a kilometer from the culvert, she sat on a boulder and listened to the sounds of dawn, such as an early rooster crowing and a faraway dog barking. In a short while, the sun would lighten the sky. Irons was still tired as he walked down his street to get to the main road to find transport to Sandy Grande. He was tired because he did not sleep well. A couple had a fight somewhere and was screaming and shouting during the night and broke his slumber. Not paying much attention to his surroundings, he was almost upon the young woman before he noticed her. "Good morning," she said. What? He was startled. "Oh gosh, you really frightened me. Good morning, good morning." "Oh, Gom, I didn't mean to do that. You going to work early?" "Yes, I'm walking out to the main road to catch a maxi." "Oh, good. I'm going for a maxi too. May I walk with you?" Of course, of course. Is that the reason you waiting here in the dark?" A little bit. Thanks. I get a little scared." "Well, you don't have to worry about anything up here. You can walk anytime. Nobody will interfere with you. If you were from here, you would know that." "Well, I'm glad to hear that," she said. "And if you were from around here, I would know you. John is my name, but everybody calls me Irons. So, you want me to call you John or Irons?" "Anyone you like. I will answer. My wife sometimes calls me Irons and sometimes she calls me John." "I think John is a good name. I will choose John. My name is Vashti." "Vashti, pleased to meet you." They shook hands. "You're a good man, John," said Vashti. "You have a good handshake." "You can tell that from a handshake?" he asked. "Well, that and the fact that you mentioned your wife right away. A lot of men don't talk about their wives right away." "A lot of men too greedy. I'm not one of them. I have my one woman and consider myself lucky to have a good woman." "Well, she's lucky to have a good man," he said. She was genuinely pleased. "Thanks, but you're embarrassing me." He blushed in the darkness. "What about you? Where are you going at this early hour of the morning?" Just like you, I have to work too." He guessed she was either a cook in a house or hotel and had to get to work early enough to prepare breakfast. He also surmised that she wasn't proud of her work, so she didn't volunteer her trade. He decided not to pursue that line of conversation. He would probably never see her again and decided to just enjoy her company for the short walk to the main road.